Today on Foundation Lady, I'm going to be reviewing the foundation used on the set of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel to give actress Rachel Brosnahan that flawless 1950s complexion. So what foundation is it? Well, it's the Bobbi Brown Skin Long Wear Weightless Foundation, and today I'm going to be using the shade Cool Ivory. So here we have a couple of swatches of the Bobbi Brown Skin Long Wear Weightless Foundation. The top is a freshly applied swatch, and the bottom a dry swatch. While I start applying foundation to the left side of my face, I should let you know that I started out with a few new products pre-application. So after cleansing, I went in with the Neutrogena Hydro Boost Glow Primer plus Serum, which I've really been enjoying lately, followed by the Embryolisse Moisturizing Cream. Now, I've also had a lot of stubborn red spots, so I went in with the NYX Color Correcting Concealer in green to counteract the red, followed by a very old version of the Tarte Maracuja Creaseless Concealer, which I'm pretty sure I should have thrown out a long time ago. So let's talk texture, because the texture of this foundation is very interesting. When you first pump it out, it seems like a normal liquid foundation, but then if you touch it with your finger to spread it out, it feels very feathery, almost like it has a bit of air in it, which makes it feel very thin going on. So the texture actually reminds me of two other very popular foundations. One would be the Armani Luminous Silk Foundation, and the other one would be the L'Oreal True Match Super Blendable Foundation. Although I do have to mention that the Bobbi Brown Foundation feels a lot thinner than the L'Oreal True Match Foundation. This Bobbi Brown Skin Foundation comes in a frosted glass bottle with a pump, and it has a nice weight to it. It definitely feels very luxurious. It's an oil-free, water-based foundation that the company refers to as lightweight and long-wearing. It's light to medium coverage. That's what they say. Personally, I think it leans a little more medium. You get 1 fluid ounce or 30 ml for $52 US. It comes in 24 inclusive shades and contains an SPF of 15 and has a natural finish. Now, unfortunately, it does have a fragrance. On the positive side, this fragrance is a little bit lighter than a lot of luxury foundations. It smells very spa-like, I would say kind of like essential oils versus perfume. But for all my guys and gals out there who can't do fragrance, just want to warn you, it does have a fragrance. And finally, they suggest that this is best for oily, normal, or combination skin, which I absolutely agree with. Although I will say on my normal to slightly dry skin, this still works really well. I just had to make sure to really hydrate beforehand. Okay, so for behind the scenes makeup fact number 1. Artist Patricia Regan decided on this foundation because she knew that she needed a matte formula. This takes place in the 1950s, and although now we usually crave something a little more dewy or even more of a glass skin, in the 1950s, it was all about matte. Now, she suggests that the very best way to wear this is by putting on a very light layer, and then she goes over top with the Chantecaille High Definition Powder and a round brush, and she just kind of rolls it on instead of pressing it into the pores. Now, I will not be using that powder today because I haven't won the lottery, but I can tell you from watching the show that it has a beautiful effect on the skin. As far as application methods go, between sponge, brush, or fingers, I preferred the sponge. All three worked well, but I just felt like the sponge gave it the overall best finish. And I decided to go over it, build it up a little bit, although if I were just wearing it for myself, I would probably just go with one layer, but I wanted to see how this built up, and luckily it built up really nicely. On to behind the scenes fact number 2. Whenever Midge is on stage doing stand-up, she's always wearing a black dress and bold red lipstick. This subtle brilliance by both the costume and makeup team helps reinforce how bold, stark, and strong her character is in this male-dominated field. And if you're curious about what shade of red lip it is, it's the YSL Rouge Pure Couture in shade 201. Speaking of dry time and durability, this is a very quick drying foundation, 4 minutes and 28 seconds before I could touch it without it transferring. As far as durability goes, this is fantastic. I didn't have my makeup remover downstairs and I was doing my swatches. I went to the kitchen sink and I scrubbed it with water. It didn't go anywhere. I even scrubbed it with dish soap. It wouldn't go anywhere. It wasn't until I added a mild exfoliant to it that I was able to get it to wash off. So I think you're going to be able to trust that you can sweat and get this a little bit wet and it's not going to move on you. So before we go in with our comparison swatches, I want to ask a trivia question to all of you Mrs. Maisel fans out there. And that is, what season or environment do you think was the hardest on the makeup artists that worked on this show? I'll tell you after the swatches. Starting out with today's foundation, we have the Bobbi Brown Skin Longwear Weightless Foundation in the shade Cool Ivory. Next, we have the Armani Luminous Silk in shade 1.5. Then we have the L'Oreal True Match Super Blendable in shade N2. And finally, the Missha BB Cream in shade 21. Now, these shades are all in indoor lighting. And here we have the exact same shades, but in sunlight for comparison. When I went in and looked at the close-ups I got on camera, I was really happy with it because no, it's not going to cover every blemish or every freckle, but it's not supposed to. It's a light to medium coverage. We can use concealer for the other things. But I was just so pleased at how it managed to be both matte, but not dry looking or cakey looking or flat looking. It was just a very skin-like matte. As far as longevity for this foundation goes, it does wear a very long time. I wore it for a good 10 hours, and the only touch-up I had to do was on my chin, which is not to be blamed on the foundation, but on the red lipstick I was wearing that I managed to get on my chin during lunch. So I did do a little bit of a touch-up on my chin, but I didn't touch up anywhere else, and here are the end-of-day pictures that you're looking at. So it truly is a good long-wear foundation. Does it look the same at the end of the day as it looked when I first applied it? No. But it still did a pretty good job of staying on through a good 10 hours. So now the answer to our trivia question. What was the most difficult season or environment for the makeup artists for this show? If you guessed season 2 when they went to the Catskills, you are correct. They were outside, it was very hot, it was very buggy, it was very warm and muggy, and not only that, but they had sunscreen then on top to contend with, along with the other foundation and makeup. So if you guessed the Catskills, you were correct. So just before we get to our buddy Norm at the end here, let's talk about the good, the bad, and the pretty of this foundation. The good, I love the shade options. I love the finish of it. I love that it's a very skin-like matte finish without looking dry, without looking too flat. If you have oily, normal, or combo skin, I think this will look fabulous on you. If you have dry skin, you can definitely make it work, but you're going to need to be careful about how you hydrate beforehand. If you have very, very dry skin, I think this might be just a touch too dry for you. As far as the bad goes, really, just one thing I wish they would change. Fragrance. I wish they would take the fragrance out. But other than that, I really like this foundation. Thanks so much for watching today. If you enjoy my foundation reviews and you don't mind giving me a thumbs up, that helps my channel so much and I really appreciate it. I hope you have a beautiful day and I'll see you soon.